Well, the White House is out with a new policy on gender pronouns. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says reporters who have pronouns like she, her, he, him, and they, them in their email signatures won't be getting a response from the White House because she explained, as a matter of policy, any reporter who chooses to put their preferred pronouns in their bio clearly doesn't care about biological reality or truth, and therefore cannot be trusted to write an honest story. Leslie, I come to you first for no particular reason.
I knew you would. What happened to us being a beacon of democracy and freedom throughout the world? Whatever happened to our administration, Democrat or Republican, having a wonderful relationship with the press? And whatever happened to our First Amendment in the Constitution, which gives me the freedom to say to you guys, can you call me Empress the next time I'm on? Look, I understand some people think this is a woke thing and it's an important issue, but it's not. It's not a kitchen table issue. It doesn't affect gas prices. It doesn't affect food prices. It doesn't affect those 401ks. And it does affect, for some people, honestly, I don't care about my pronoun. I'm being honest for myself, okay? But if you do, you should have, in the Constitution, last time I checked, gives you that freedom. And for the White House to single people out based on that, I just think it's a bad look, not just in that room, but in the eyes of the world.
Paul, what's your argument to Leslie that's a sort of true, and unrelated, and that has no bearing on the policy that Caroline explained?
Well, look, one of the things that Donald Trump won on were some of these cultural issues, and it's a very slight sidestep from this to men and women's sports, right? People get that continuum. And what people really feel is that if you are imposing on me the obligation, if you're burden shifting, to use the legal term, to put it on me to recognize some internal decision that you have made, well, then I find that coercive. I find that to be a detriment of my freedom. And let's be frank, if you have to tell me, that means you're not pulling it off. And so I should not be expected to figure that out. That's not my problem.
What a perfect layup. I love you for that, Paul, because, Harris, I'm going to talk about a real-world application where someone didn't know. And let's see what happened. This is during a CNN town hall with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders last night. Host Anderson Cooper, who got caught in a gender pronoun trap. Watch.
We're back with Senator Bernie Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Good evening, Senator Sanders.
Well, people on social media poking fun at that pronoun snafu, with Colin Rugg writing, quote, "Wow, what a bigot," LMAO. Outkicks Clay Travis calling this absolutely perfect.
Wow. I mean, and all of, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And other political commentators saying, quote, "Keep on putting the pronoun police on camera. We will win every election." And finally, Riley Gaines with, quote, "Calling for Anderson Cooper's immediate resignation for believing what his eyes were telling him, what he saw." Bigot. Harris.
Yeah, I look at this and I love what you said. I wrote it down, Paul. Burden shifting. So if you're leaving me to my own devices to determine whether or not your God-given name, your God-given gender that is before me is what is different from how you want to be seen, well, then I'm just going to go with the original? I mean, I think a lot of people would. We have not shifted as much as the burden has shifted on the rest of us. And I'm really curious to know how we capitulate to people who make up that small of a population on a playing field that starts at birth one way and shifts somewhere down the spectrum. Look, I like to learn people's names, and then I just call them by their name. But in a town hall setting, maybe all you have is that little blue card that says this voter from so-and-so, and you don't get the pronoun. So the correction there, I understand. Now let's get back to the White House. There is a political penalty if you misgender somebody. And in that setting with those reporters, they've got a gotcha all built in with their resume and name. And the first time somebody doesn't get a little blue card that says you're a woman, but you identify as Steve, and somebody calls you by the wrong situation, now you've got a whole political thing that gets what? They get the attention. The United States of attention. They get the attention and the clicks. And now that reporter who probably maybe didn't ask all the questions to put shine on him or herself gets all that shine for a reason that they flex that has nothing to do with the day's news. I can sort of game it out and understand how they could do it. So that's the flip side of the argument to Leslie to me.
That's such a great point. And the White House didn't even talk about that. I mean, they were essentially saying, like, you know what, this is the biggest flag to us that you are just an ideologue and we don't even want to deal with it, right? And then as Harris is pointing out, well, if you were to misgender me, there'd be criminal penalties thanks to the woke ideology that you represent, journalist.
Can I talk about the real world of this, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm like doing a story, right, and I'm calling people and I'm reaching out and I'm getting emails in, and somebody has a pronoun that they want you to use, it's so distracting, right? Like, okay, wait a minute. What am I supposed to pay attention to here? So as a reporter, as a journalist, you want people to pay attention to your work and not be obsessed about whatever pronoun you want to be called, right? I mean, I just think it's confusing and just not necessary.
Well,
it's a level of angst that we don't need to go to.
You want them to pay attention to your work. I want them to. We want them to. But in that moment, maybe their work is to work you if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day
Can I ask a question? I'm asking honestly about this. So when you know somebody was a man and is now a woman, Bruce Jenner, as an example, how do we
I
refer
call
to that person?
Caitlin.
You call Bruce Caitlin.
Always.
But
and with
you would refer
respect, the name.
Caitlin to her.
The name. I don't refer to their gender, actually. I just call them the name. That's me. But obviously you do.
Yeah, and yes, 100%. And I mean, the other day, my doorman called me sir. I mean, obviously English wasn't his first language, but it's hilarious. Like it doesn't matter to me. I know what I am. Whatever anyone calls me is something different. And the point is the White House
I
policy
have
that is
gotten a
saying we're not
lifetime of
waiting.
that with Jerry for a first name. Let me tell you.
Harris, look at me.
You know what? It comes down, I think, to the penalty phase, so to speak. You know, if you get it wrong, they want to send you to the global. There would be an HR department.
I don't
in the
agree with,
UN.
just so you know, I don't agree with the penalty, but I don't agree about picking and choosing members of the press pool. I'm a very, as somebody who's not only a Democratic strategist and a talk show host where I opine, but for years I was a journalist where I just could report the facts. That was my wheelhouse. I couldn't go outside of it. I want everybody represented, everybody there to be able to broadcast on radio, television, print, podcast, online, whatever they do worldwime.
What do you do
Okay,
when there are
that's fair.
60
but
genders?
how do you get to they, them? Like that's another thing on the spectrum. We're trying to figure out men and women and him and her. And you asked me about Caitlyn Jenner, him and her. But how would you ever know by looking at a woman or a man that there are they, them? You can't. You have to know their sexual preference and history. That's a whole lot, or at least that. It's on
But
a
if they
different
have, for
spectrum
example,
and-
on your list, it says in
calculation as well.
parentheses on your name tag, or as we saw there, the woman made a
Have
correction.
you been to the White House
That
press
individual
briefings?
made a correction.
It's not that spelled out.
Even you
Yes,
just
I've been
accidentally did it. That's hopefully it's too messy. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.